What's going on? It's Mitch with CalFit, where we help busy parents over 40 drop that belly fat without cutting bread or doing anything foolish for that matter. And that's what today's quick pod is about, is nutrition myths that need to die in 2025. Because honestly, this kind of crap gets clicks. Fear-based mongering that doesn't serve you in the big picture. So we're going to help you save a lot of trial and error today. First up is this myth that protein powders are dangerous. So there was this Consumer Reports, I guess we'll call it a study, loosely putting it that way, that made a bunch of headlines recently, that there was lead in protein powder. And to put it in proper context, the amount of lead was so minimal, it was the equivalent of like a medium tomato. Like they obviously had higher levels in the plant-based proteins because that comes from the soil. Lead is in the soil. Anything that comes from the ground has some lead in it. And that was unfortunately the misleading part. If you dig deeper, you realize, well, these metals are in everything in modest amounts, and our body naturally can expel them, right? So in moderation, like anything, protein powder, not dangerous, not to the least extent. They can be a helpful tool, right? Not a toxin, perfect for post-workout nutrition, maybe busy mornings, that afternoon snack when you're trying to hit your target for the day. Myth number two is that diet drinks will kill you. You know, you see the guy smoking a cigarette on his third beer of the night saying, oh my God, how can you drink that Diet Coke when two very known carcinogens are in his hands and one that has very loose ties to any risk being that Diet Coke in your hands? You can see where the hypocrisy, right? So honestly, there's no way they can help you gain weight. It's 0 calories, no universal cravings. Some people report it anecdotally that they get more cravings. Honestly, it's because they're not eating, right? So when you're hungry, a diet drink isn't really going to take the edge off for long. But what they do is give you that sweet treat without the calorie cost. It can aid fat loss for that reason alone, because you swap it for more high calorie beverages and anything in moderation, right? It's a type B carcinogen. So that's like up there with aloe vera cream, like pretty loose ties. You'd have to consume a metric ton of this stuff day after day to put yourself at risk, whereas obviously smoking alcohol uh, is type A. All right. The next one is that metabolism boosting foods exist. That certain foods can melt fat or boost your metabolism in any meaningful way. Like you see green tea, like spicy foods, apple cider vinegar, grapefruit, celery. The list does go on and on, promising fat loss. Unfortunately, no food really accelerates that in any meaningful way. Like if you don't change your calories, but you consume more of them from green tea, grapefruit, celery, the net positive or net loss from that is going to be negligible, 0.000 grams per week kind of thing. Where food matters is like the thermic effect, like how much energy it requires to break down. And that's where, we push people to a higher protein diet for the reason that, as much as 30% of the calories don't count because of the high thermic effect compared to carbs and fats. You get the meat sweats. Your body has to work harder to digest that macronutrient, so it gives you an edge in fat loss. That's the primary reason. In studies, green tea might increase your calorie burn by 20 calories a day, 10 calories a day. Like those aren't going to make any meaningful difference. So eat those foods if you like them. There is some health benefits, obviously, in other ways, especially green tea, but not as a way to boost your metabolism. The myth that like raw, fresh veggies are always better, when in some cases, cooked veggies can be more nutritious because it kind of mobilizes some of the micronutrients from it that are bound up in the fiber or whatever else that's present. In some ways, flash frozen fruits and vegetables, especially if you live far away from where they are being picked, can be more nutritious than fresh because they're not, degrading on a truck going across the country. And frankly, I find they just taste better. Cooking a vegetable, putting some seasoning on it, I'm going to consume more vegetables in that way. So that works for me. Maybe you prefer it raw with more crunch. All the more power to you. Just there's probably pros and cons to each. Just know that sometimes flash frozen, cooked is actually better for you. Next one is you must eat organic. there is like the dirty dozen with the highest level of pesticides. It's stuff that's, usually closest to the ground that doesn't have a hard shell. But if you're buying organic avocado, is there a real net benefit to that? I'd argue not enough to justify the added cost, right? Because you don't eat the outer shell. So the inside contained is healthy, right? So more and more research comes out that shows there isn't a whole lot of meaningful difference here. I would say if you can afford to buy more non-organic produce, that's probably a net positive for you because you're going to be consuming more produce, potentially more fruits, all good things, right? So you'd have to eat massive quantities for decades to approach any meaningful health risk from pesticides. And obviously all of us wash our vegetables. Does that negate all of the risk? No, but at the end of the day, you do you. If you've got the budget to justify organic all the time, maybe there's a net positive to that. Oftentimes organic comes with more risk for E. coli and so on because they aren't being treated in the same way. Seed oils, real topic of discussion these days, with people claiming they're the entire root cause of our obesity crisis. Some people saying they use a ton of them and it's all good. I would say it depends on how it's cooked. So foods high in seed oils, for example, like that are deep fried, yes, maybe not the best idea to have a lot of deep fried oil on your food in the first place, extra calories. But human studies over and over show in safe amounts, controlled moderate amounts, seed oil consumption can actually improve health outcomes. Okay, so I would say cook with quality oil, use in moderation because the calories still add up, but even canola oil is fine in moderation. If you're cooking, olive oil, low temps, and a lot of that's been refuted about it, the risk being degraded if you cook too high a temperature. But use everything in variety and moderate your calorie intake, you'll be fine. Fruit makes you fat. So this is one of those that people hopefully have come wise to, that it's really just overall calorie consumption, and fruit itself is not to blame for weight gain. It's part of an overall bigger picture. It can actually help people lose fat because it gives you that kind of sugar craving without the added fats. Like junk food comes with so much more calories. And fiber, water, micronutrients, vitamins are packed in fruit. And you need to eat truly massive amounts to gain, meaningful body fat from it. So if you like fruit, in moderation, continue to consume it. All good. Ultimately, we major in the minors with this stuff. Right? If Coke Zero and banana a day were costing you, you'd have lost, 20 pounds by now if you cut it out. Whereas most of the time, we lose the forest for the trees with this stuff, and it keeps you paralyzed by confusion because everything is like conflicted advice. So I would say boil it down to the big rocks. If you're actively trying to lose fat, track your calories for a bit. Ensure your protein sufficient. Like once you know how much you're taking in, then you can adjust up or down, depending on what kind of results you're getting. Otherwise, you're just winging it and guessing. We do want to strength train for the obvious reasons that helps us preserve our muscle and bone, which are pretty critical to our quality of life, but also ensuring a fat loss plan works as it should. Lots of steps a day, lots of sleep as needed, and staying hydrated. And you do those things consistently over time, that's what's going to really drive transformation. Okay. The boring, unsexy basics nobody wants to talk about. That's what matters. If you master those, sprinkle in a bit of the next level stuff or the hacks and the supplements and whatever else it happens to be, but don't focus all your attention there because that's not where results end up. All right, any questions, drop me a message below. I've got a 6 weeks to slay the scale challenge going on right now to help you drop 8 to 12, maybe even 15 pounds, man, on starting weight before the end of the year. If you want details on that, just hit me up on the old Instagrams or the Facebooks with the code word SLEIGH, SLEIGH, and I'll know what to do. We'll send you next steps.